What's funny to me is the Glen Canyon Lake Powell section is just one shelf, as you can see there. I mean, it could probably, if I arranged it just all vertically, be a shelf and some more, but still, it's not a lot. But like Zeno's paradox, it's kept expanding, as every time it gets any distance, you can think about the halfway point. Then you're still always just getting to that next halfway point. You can never arrive. New arrangement. I've given these book stacks into the decor. Everest, Lincoln, different. I don't know. It's taken a long time. I have a lot to say, I guess, about Glen Canyon, Lake Powell, in that area, in the Colorado Plateau. So much. That's why I've written about it at such length. I mean, it's it's meaningful. It's like this vivid, real example of the cultic milieu. Everything that gets pushed to the side becomes a new significant center. And cross-pollinates with all its many elements. Look, I've got one additional pile here of things. This is Lake Powell ephemera and Glen Canyon stuff, things like maps and articles. These are from Filebox, like a vertical magazine holding Filebox. This was very common. Anytime I was at a marina or a ranger station or anything like that, you'd see this around the lake at that time. This too, I think. I think I got this later. Yeah, Lake Powell. I mean, look at that place. It's crazy. It really was like living in like an Andy Warhol pop art world for a little while. A Weetzie Bat book. Look at that. Everything was Technicolor and wow. So these three maps were like my life for a while. They told me everything about where I was and was going and like helped me plan, and I consulted them all the time. Psychologically, they were a big part of the trip too, checking the maps a lot. I had this one here, this is a general one. They're all in this waterproof plastic. Where do maps fit into literature? Cartographic literature. Place names are certainly significant. But this is where I started to see just how huge and sprawling Lake Powell is. So here is where I started and finished. I had imagined in my mind, I bet it's like 1,000 miles around and it's a big circle or something. I don't know why I thought that. It shows that I was ignorant. But no, it's like a tangle of flattened millipedes, as I've written, of all these flooded river and tributary waterways. So look, this is pretty much the north end of the lake where I started there. At least it was at the time, because when it was close to full. But it has this other northern section too that goes up into Cataract and Narrow Canyons, north of Glen Canyon. But most of it was the flooded Glen Canyon, which has really distinctive curved, round, red, bright brown amphitheater walls. And look, this is barely a part of it. Most of it is on this other side. Lake Powell has 98 side canyons, according to the famous Stan, what's it called? The map, Stan Jones map. That's the Salmon Arm where the Salmon River flowed into it, and it was wild. The rock was a totally different quality back there. Red rock, crumbly. UFO encounter here, probably the government. And surprised some Episcopalians washing feet somewhere around here late at night. We thought they were people that had invited us, but they weren't. They were different people. A friend of mine canoed with me for the middle third from the dam down here up to here. And he was getting so sick of it by the time we were around here. He kept trying to get a ride out, and he couldn't find anybody. So he just kept going. And then like something exciting would happen, and he'd be like, okay, I'll stick around. So the trip was really cool. I loved how it was divided because it was in 1999 and 2000. Because it was like, a third solitude, then with a friend, then alone again, which is different than initial solitude. It was cool. It was kind of a perfect, amazing trip. I wish I could virtual reality recreate it in my mind just to have that experience again. Writing about it has been fun and cool, and I have good journals from it. But so then I had these north and south, more detailed maps. They were called fishing maps. I bought them at Sportsman's Warehouse in Salt Lake City, and I would occasionally make like annotations, like if I knew something from a guidebook or something else, some other source. I mean, look how ragged that shoreline. It's wild. It's not a natural lake. It's so strange. And I'd say most of its shoreline, I don't remember the percentage, but it's a lot. Much of its shoreline is just sheer rock. You know, a lot of it vertical going right down to it. It's wild. Coast Guard classifies it as an inland ocean. On the days on the trip when I'd switch maps, those were so significant. Like, I'm leaving Lake Powell north. I'm in Lake Powell south. And then back again later. Well, the bays were such an experience. I mean, canoeing along them was so dizzying. You were just constantly going back and forth. And the water is a perfect mirror when it was calm, glassy. It was just incredible. It was so surreal. The horizon broken only by the Navajo generating station and its coal-burning smokestacks, since torn down. To me, these maps are kind of like old friends. This one, too. This was given to me by Stan Jones himself when I met him in Page at his house, Mr. Lake Powell. I didn't know anything about his map. I was just referred to him by the family I was staying with. You should meet Mr. Lake Powell since you're canoeing around Lake Powell. Went over to his house, and every question I asked, he'd go, "It's on my map. It's on my map. All of these things are on my map." I asked him about Everett Ruiz, and he's like, "What do you want to know about that for? That's old." But he just didn't really understand what I was doing. He thought I was just like canoeing around on the lake. He didn't understand I was circumnavigating the whole thing over 7 months. Later, when he understood what I was doing, he was like, "Oh, that's awesome. No one's done that. Only Colin Warren attempted it long ago in the 70s. Look who is so cute and hanging out. What's up, squirrel? Have I ever told you you're a proud and noble beast and I respect you? Sometimes I feel bad for her that she got spayed when she was still kind of young. And so she's kept this like kittenish face. Are you a product of arrested development, kitty? Prismo has a very mature cat face. Anyway, this is a cool map. However, look at this thing. It was taped up so many times. It got wet so many times. I don't like what it's printed on. It's like paper. It should be on this stuff, which is amazing. But the problem I found was trying to find any of these things because the dots were really big. So like a dot could be like 3/4 of a mile across or something. We were trying to find dinosaur footprints at the end of Navajo Canyon and Navajo Arch and things. When I hiked this whole area with my friend Ray, we left, headed off into the desert down here-ish. This map is also great because it has a paragraph on every canyon, and it's so well researched, and he really was a cool, interesting guy, and I had a great correspondence with him later on after the trip. Mr. Lake Powell. It generated some ire. In fact, I crossed out here, I guess, at some point, what my friend Ray wrote on here. You want to know about Lake Powell and its 96 canyons? Get a new map. Get a different map or something. But I'm like, it's pretty cool what he put together here. This map is a piece of literature, and I'd like to actually see it in book form, kind of formatted differently for readability. I hope it lives on. He died some years ago. I read his obituary in Arizona Highways. I couldn't find the issue of Paddler I was looking for, which was the one that had a chapter about my canoe trip, and it was like half a page. There's a scan of it in my book. I'll just show it then. When I do a video on that should be my last Lake Powell video. Glen Canyon books video. My book-length chapter about my experience with Glen Canyon Lake Powell. But this issue of Paddler partly inspired my trip. I had just read the Journals of Lewis and Clark, that copy right there, and I had bought a canoe, and I had been swept downstream for many miles on the Snake River in Idaho and realized I'm not very good at river canoeing. I need something easy, so I picked this lake that is apparently prone to insane windstorms. Didn't know that part. Spent like half the trip windbound, but that was just how it went. Squirrel. This new church will be great. Everyone will worship you as they should. But I knew I wanted to do a long trip, and then I read this article in here that I kind of became obsessed with. These people, they're two friends from Medicine Hat, Alberta, and they canoed from way up in Canada down into South America. I mean, via a network of waterways, and they had crazy adventures, and I loved this article. I read it like great literature over and over again. and was like, these are the most amazing people, and their trip sounds incredible, and I want experiences like that. Anyway, then I went and visited a friend of mine, an old high school friend, Russ Medge. He was living in some Utah town, and he was all, Lake Powell's huge, and I had just seen Lake Powell on a Jeep trip. You could live on it. All the pieces clicked into place. The part in Into the Wild where Chris McCandless lives on desert rivers. I mean, it was just like, I see it. See this trip. Little did I know what a rich, controversial, interesting topic Lake Powell Glen Canyon was. And, that I was like putting myself right into the middle of a really big story. But, okay, this is just some Lake Powell ephemera, but this should be collected in a book. It probably is, of David Roberts' Western writing. He has some significant stuff. There's an article in here on Lake Canyon and the Kaparwitz Plateau, and he interviews this rancher, Delane Griffin, that I later met also. And he just talks about this incredible place. The Kaparwitz Plateau next to the Escalante River it's like, I think it's the last mapped area in the continental United States because it's so wild. The canyons are incredible. And I just love it so much. And I fanned out. I did some fanboy obsession with this article, and I marked up everything in it that I wanted to see for myself. And I did. I went out and with my first wife, we went and found everything in this article, met some of the people from it. I'm like, I just want to know all the things for myself that are in here. It was super interesting, and anyway, that's later after the Lake Powell stuff, but it's totally that area. Lake Canyon, I had this long history in too. I went on a Boy Scout camping trip in it back in high school. That same trip, I had all kinds of stuff happen there. It was crazy. Some places on this planet you keep getting drawn back to again and again, and it's like, what's up with that? Stamford, Connecticut? Why do I have to check in with that town every 10 years? Tell me, squirrel. Saw Thunderbolts today. I think Marvel's got it back. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I do think digital is so much darker and less exciting than film. If that had been filmed on 35 millimeter, it would have been so much prettier. The darks would have been so much nicer. Squirrel, you're just amazing. What's going on here? Why are you being so beautiful? But I later met Delane Griffin, and he told me that he had known Everett Ruiz back in the 30s, and that when he last saw Everett, he was walking away with a group of Navajo men, and they were all singing a folk song together. I thought that was very picturesque and interesting. We literally walked off into the horizon singing. It was cool talking to him. And recently when I was in Escalante, Utah, I noticed the grocery store there is Griffin Grocery. That must be his family. But then this unassuming magazine, Paddler Magazine, this is my first published piece of writing, I think I would call it. I wrote an article about the controversy over Lake Powell and Glen Canyon. And it's in here somewhere. It's called The Canyon and the Lake, which I think is a good title. I like a nice, simple title. Nouns. Nouns get lots of points. Those are like chess pieces, the best ones. Nouns are the rooks or something. Maybe I'm from a different universe where Berenstain Bears was spelled differently, and I had an article in this one. Where is it? Oh, there it is. The Canyon and the Lake. Yeah, I wrote this. They made me cut it down. They made me rearrange stuff. They said they found my sentences well written but impenetrable and hard to edit. And I'm like, awesome. That's kind of my goal. Yeah, I don't want you messing with my stuff. Leave my work alone. The work is the work. It's meant to be the way it is. Editors do catch stuff once in a while, and I appreciate it. A friend of mine caught a just straight up factual error editing me recently, and I was like, awesome. But also wild, because then you start spiraling. Don't trust your judgment. Look how mazy it is. I canoed every bit of that shoreline. It was crazy. Damn. Oh, did I provide these illustrations? I got them from different sources, but yeah, I believe I did. Not that one, though. For many paddlers, the name Lake Powell conjures images of a blue lake among red rock, of kayaking over a sprawling azure sheen of unbroken water, edged by precipitous sandstone walls. It feels like some editorial tinkering has happened with my writing there. Precipitous. Calls to mind shorelines lined with tamarisks and cottonwoods, bays mottled with preening mergansers and watchful egrets, water caves full of reflected light, and sunsets mirrored by a shining landlocked ocean. Yeah, I wouldn't put that comma there anymore. For others, the name alone is enough to make them shake in anger and sadness. For those, Lake Powell is not a lake at all. It's a misbegotten reservoir. It's a crime. It's all that lies between them and the legendary long-lost Glen Canyon, a stretch of the Colorado River so inviting, so overwhelming, and so full of secrets, it's often been called the Grand Canyon's lovelier sibling. I like to ease people into a radical stance. And then it's like, you want it torn down too now, don't you? Anyway, this has been a stack of Lake Powell related ephemera. And aren't you lucky? You got to see it. I don't know. Everything's interesting. Who cares? You know, I watch some nonsense on YouTube. I think it's all kind of interesting. It's all about the human experience. Or I think of like Instagram feeds I follow where it's just like, look at all this, like these little marks I saw on the wall, or the trash on the street, or like this little detail of an urban environment. Julian Norwich said God is not glorified by any particular thing. You could replace God with the universe or whatever. And Annie Dillard, I feel like, took that and ran with it, like kind of creating a sort of like new genre of like her visionary state transcribed as nonfiction. But I mean, my experience out there, canoeing for 6.5 months is crazy, and being on a desert surreal landscape like that is extra crazy. It changed me forever. I used to quote that like Ayn Rand quote, like, not that that's a writer that I love, but I did have a girlfriend that was super into that writer when I was like 18, and so I read the complete works. And I would quote, I feel like that writer had the political baggage that writer's name has now, but the quote was, "The person not fit for solitude is not fit for society." And I remember quoting that to Terry Whitehead, this awesome Native American dude. We met on this trip when we hiked to Navajo Mountain, me and Ray. I told him that quote, and he's like, "That's not true at all. You can, like," he's like, "if anything, solitude will make you weirder." And it turned out he was kind of right. That said, solitude really has its own benefits and so on. You kind of go insane and fall in love with the world and existence. You know, then it's really difficult, and you start obsessing over society and so on. That can be a part of it too. But overall, I think it's like a purifying fire. I spent a full month with no human contact, not seeing anyone, not a wave, not a look, not seeing their existence. And it was in winter on this trip, because I started on November 29th, 1999. And I had winter was like seeing nobody. And it was such a night and day different experience than in the summer when I like literally had my canoe cracked by a jet ski and there were just people everywhere. But the solitude was wild. I don't know. I think about this stuff when I think about Lake Powell Glen Canyon. And I do want to show that chapter and be done with this section. I'm sorry, it's gone on and on and on. Squirrel. The public wants to know, how are you such a royal floof? Come on, tell the world. Oh, maps. Perhaps I'll leave you out on my pillow tonight. Missed you, old friends. Oh, but my dreams were, back then were, shoved in between our front there. Yeah, maybe I will do a trash books video sometimes. Closet trash books, I'll call it. I kind of think a goal of this channel could be to completely catalog the contents of this apartment at some point. Like, because they're all writing related, literature related. I need to organize my files and closet. I'm going to find weird categories. I don't know. It's all about the books, though. What is the collection? What's it all mean? Check this out. I have a new quote-unquote bookcase. This was just on the side of the road today, of a street. I love it. It's great. And so this is the anthology section now. And I found that I had more anthologies than this thing could hold, but here's a lot of them, most of them. Some of the anthologies, I feel like if I wanted to read this, what section would I think of first? And so that's where it went. So like the sci-fi ones stayed in the sci-fi. The weird books stayed in the weird books. The New Mexico ones stayed in the New Mexico. But there's essays, fiction, poetry, comics, speeches. Did the aphorisms one keep it? Yeah, it stayed. I don't know. I have an idea for this wall and so on. I think now I'll be more likely to read these excellent anthologies, if they're out and available and so on. I don't have to pass through this hallway all the time. Oh yeah, and then this fossil, that's a nice detail, huh? I found that. Squirrel loves it. Here she is. And then that's just like, I don't know. I feel like something should be in there. To keep away the spirits. But, you know, it's cool. I do think the natural state of a book collection is to fill whatever space it has. So that's just health, you know. It's a healthy ecosystem. I think this wall should have one too, because I think that'll be so cool to like enter this room and through like a tunnel of books. That's amazing. That sounds just and right and true. So now the writing section is a little scarcer because I took some anthologies out. Oh well. The room is good too. I want this book collection to be like how I edit a piece, where I let it breathe, I call it. Like I let a piece expand, the word count gets added to, and then it gets pared back, it gets added to, and then it gets pared back. I feel like you discover like a natural breath of a work, you know, it's cool. It's cool. Really enjoying this from the Paperback Project. Green Mansions by W.H. Hudson. And it's illustrated, incredible. By a lady most known for doing golden books. Fairy tale golden books. She did 70. Went down an art rabbit hole online. But this is good. Beautiful descriptions of the jungle. Well paced. It's interesting. I like it. I think some dated racial attitudes, like calling indigenous people savages, you know, cost it for a lot of people. Just based on skimming Goodreads reviews. Again, I'm not on Goodreads, but I do read the reviews online sometimes. I don't want to be on there because Amazon owns it. I kind of have a general boycott. Because I'm anti-monopoly and anti-people whose souls are in 6 other Horcruxes. Life, right? And what do you even have to say about it all? It's crazy. Today I went to a news event for this online newsletter I'm writing articles for called Nob Hill News. It's about a part of Albuquerque, but anyone could subscribe. And in fact, that would be funny if people on the internet found it and just like started subscribing to this neighborhood newsletter. Funny. But it's got a subscription-based model that's been tested by another outlet in town and been successful. And already the mayor subscribes to it. So I have the mayor's ear now with my writing in Albuquerque. Oh my gosh. I need to read Lathe of Heaven. I hear that's about someone that has power like that. About a psychiatrist that discovers that their patient can affect reality through their dreams, and so they seek to affect their patient's dreams. That's wild. Ursula K. Le Guin, so good. All right, folks, this has been Lake Powell Ephemera, and it's the last Glen Canyon Lake Powell video, except for the one I'm gonna do showing what I wrote. Then I swear I'm done. Zeno's Paradox will end somehow. And then I think we'll just do a general nonfiction section, or we could do that anthology section. I don't know. It'll probably be nonfiction. Oh yeah. Wow. North American treat. Acorn is all the Americas. Yeah, that's why when people freak out about pumpkin spice lattes, they're like, that's so cliched. I'm like, that's an indigenous, you know, what is it? Is it a vegetable? Or squash is something else? Let's say vegetable. Yeah, no one knows everything. Well, all right, folks. It's late. What am I doing? What's anyone doing? But I went to this event today, and people really knew my podcast. It was crazy. I talked to like multiple people that like had listened to my podcast. What? A couple in particular, and one guy in particular, like, according to my editor, had gone just because he wanted to meet me and my co-host. I'm like, that's crazy. This little podcast about Albuquerque that we've just been doing for 10 years has a quiet fandom. Someone told me I had a distinctive voice and I should be an FM DJ. I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah. Someone will just call me and hire me. I took a radio class once here. Gotta have the opportunity. Kids swear there used to be a cat in this picture, and they've half convinced me. Like, there was a black cat. It left. I think they're misremembering this image and conflating the two, possibly. Also, I love that part in Roald Dahl's The Witches where it's about that. Like people getting trapped in a painting and aging in it and moving around. You know, when no one's looking. Antelope Canyon. That flows into Lake Powell. Right. If you know something about Glen Canyon and Lake Powell now after watching all these videos, I feel like you might. That's crazy. I hope at least it like has intrigued you or something in the subject. Read one of these books maybe sometime. It's really an interesting subject and it's at the center of a lot. And if you ever get a chance to visit it, you will fall in love with the area too. Even flooded, it's a beautiful world. I do think the dam should be decommissioned and it should be returned to wildness, but like, it's so interesting and beautiful out there. It's just an incredible place, and you really can feel the power of nature. Even with an artificial reservoir there. We'll have a lot of fun out there too. Houseboating and water skiing and hiking, and just don't be the jerks, if you go. Be the cool ones. Everyone I met basically for 6.5 months was on vacation. That was a real wild element of my trip. Yeah. Sometimes it was fun, like everyone was in party mode, but sometimes it was not, like everyone was trashed and insane. This video's going on too long. Why am I still filming? Talk to y'all later. I've got a problem, that's why I'm still filming. Must be procrastinating something. Oh, yep, there it is. And something else. Oh, yep, that's how it always is, isn't it? But the YouTube audience needs content. And you're right, I am noble. There's some footage of a vase.